Hi everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Collecting Canadian Cavalry and Armour. Today, as you can see, we're going to look at the badges of the Essex Regiment Tank in World War II, known as the 30th Recce, and forerunner to the Windsor Regiment, my old unit. So what we see here is what appears to be all the same badges, and you would almost be right. So up here there was three main manufacturers of these badges during the war. It was Burke's, Scully, and then another manufacturer that left no maker mark on the back at all. So here we have some of those examples up here. So you have the Burke's and the unmarked. Now this brass one here is very interesting. It is made by Scully, and what I'll do is I'll pull it off in a minute and I'll show you the back. There's a lot of reproductions of those ones coming out, especially out of Britain. They're slightly smaller in here, in the oval, and there's no maker mark on the back. The story goes that when the guys were overseas, they ordered another batch of badges from Scully. Scully made the mistake of making them all in brass, sent them over to the regiment, and they said, well, we can't use these because it's supposed to be white metal. And that's what the regulations said. So the guys got to keep these things as a souvenir, and a lot of the guys, they got rid of a bunch of them. So trying to track these down, it's one of the joys of collecting, right? Next to it, you'll see a silver-plated officer's badge. Very nice, very unique badge to get one in silver like that. May have probably been a privately done thing, but it's a very nice addition. Now, these ones here are what they call the 1938-39 edition of the badges. And in 1943, they came out with these ones here. So there's a Scully example and unmarked. And this one over here appears to be copper, but I believe it was a relic. Had been buried. And so a lot of times when it's buried, a lot of the copper and stuff leaches out of the badge. So that's what this one is like too. If you guys remember back to the episode we did on the Armored Corps badges, I had the one with the mailed fist that looked like it was copper as well. So I think it's kind of the same thing. After the war, after things changed around, when they became the Windsor Regiment in the late 40s, they had tons of these badges, and apparently, as you guys know, they had all these King's Crown or Tudor Crown badges, many different regiments and stuff. QM guys just put them all in drums and buried them somewhere. So there's somewhere, some base, Borden maybe, or some base, there's all kinds of drums full of badges. So the story goes. So these, the cap badges really the same. Now, you're probably asking, what is the difference between the 39 issue and the 1943 issue? Very, very minor, and it doesn't really matter. But if you look just behind the sponson, one of the armored plates, there's a number of rivets on there. There's 2 rivets on the 1939 issue, and there's 3 rivets on the 1943 issue. Does it make a difference? Not at all. Same price, same everything. But if you're a goofy collector like myself who likes to get all of the the different things, especially for my forerunner, my own regiment, I had to go ahead and add that. Okay, so let's move down here. We have the brass Essex Regiment Tank shoulder title. They're getting kind of hard to find. You'll probably pay about $100 for a pair of those, for your uniform or whatever, if you're trying to redo one here. Now, you notice on this one here we have a red patch. Now this is a photocopy of an article that came out of the Windsor Daily Star that described the badge as having to have a red patch behind it. So here's an example there. They got rid of those after they went overseas, but while they were in garrison here in Windsor, that's where it was. Now, several of the officers and senior NCOs that formed the nucleus of the regiment when it was first formed in 1936 came from the Essex Scottish. Those are the guys who were smart enough to get the hell out of the infantry and come on over to tanks or armored, right? Those are the good bunch of guys. Now, to recognize where they came from, special order came out that they could wear a patch of the McGregor tartan behind the cap badge. Now this didn't last long. But in the late 30s, just after the regiment was formed, you could tell the guys that came from the Scottish that were smart enough to come over. Okay, just saying, guys. So there's that there. Here we can see the Melton Essex slip-on for the battle dress uniform, and we covered these in episode number 2 of this series. Now you'll notice a blank one here. This is for the khaki drill uniform. I think they made one run of them. They do exist, but I have yet to find one that I can get into my collection. So if there's somebody out there that has one that would really like to see it, go to a different collector, leave a comment. Maybe you don't have a supportive wife like I do, and she, hey, get rid of this stuff. Keep me in mind. I'd appreciate it. So let's go down and take a look at these variety of collar dogs or collar badges. Now, the general issue were these ones at the end here, just in brass, plain brass. Now, been able to find some that have a gold wash on them here. We have this set that are chromed, perhaps for the band, and these have screw posts on the back as opposed to the regular lugs. More than likely, these were worn on the patrol dress uniforms that the band had, that the band wore. Now this set is very, very interesting. Lieutenant Colonel George Walker, God rest his soul, these used to belong to him. He wore these even on his uniform when he was commanding officer of the Windsor Regiment, but these are Essex Regiment Tank collars. But it's interesting that the tank and the motto is silvered. That's the only set I've ever seen, and I know that he wore them because he, inspected us many times. So I was very familiar with the collar badges. So I'm very, very fortunate to have picked up quite a bit of his uniforms and badges from his estate after he passed away. And these were his collar badges. And again, like I said, they're not listed in any book that the silver. So pretty fortunate. Now over here you can see the Goldwater, the bullion badges. They look very, very similar to the ones that the Windsor Regiment is using now, but you can see it has the Tudor crown. It's the only set I've ever seen. Just very, very fortunate to be able to pick them up. Now, Nick up in London was able to part with this thing with the jacket badge here for the Essex Regiment Tank, and it makes a really nice centerpiece. Now, don't forget, guys, we were talking about blazer crests, and this would be another good spot that you could put a blazer crest. So if you want to get like a nice family of badges and all the little variations of whatever badge it happens to be. Maybe it's the Alberta Light Horse, or it's the Horse Guards or whatever. It's always nice to kind of lay them out, in a nice frame like this. Now, for the video, we took the glass out because of the glare would be just horrible. You wouldn't see anything, but this is nice. You can lay them out, do the custom mat cutting, do a little bit of research. You hang that on the wall. The whole thing is complete, and I think, well, I'm a little biased because I did it, but I think that it makes a really, really nice display. You can see here now when we talked about sweetheart pins and that type of thing, we talked about the cigarette case that was issued to the officers and stuff, and they retired. And this is just one of those little badges. I've seen them on charm bracelets, on rings. I've seen them on cufflinks and that type of thing. So I found one that was loose, and it just added to the collection here. This here is just a tie tack that was produced for the 75th anniversary, or birthday of the regiment, and it fits in there very nice. But this one is, like I said, from the 80s. And this one goes back into the 1930s. So again, guys, a really nice display of Essex Regiment Tank stuff. The old 30th Recce, the forerunner to the Windsor Regiment, my old regiment. So we're going to take a quick look at the back of this brass badge. And yeah, so let's take a look at that now. Okay guys, so what we're looking at here for this is, you can see right along the bottom, it's a little bit faint, but you can see it's William Scully right across there. For this to be an original badge, it's an original brass badge, it's got to say William Scully right along there. If it doesn't say that, then you're looking at probably a reproduction made out of Britain, and they're trying to charge a full price for them. They're just not worth it because it's just a reproduction. So again, very hard to find brass badge. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick little episode on the badges of the Essex Regiment Tank. And of course, reference material. Again, Chris Booker's wonderful book on Canadian Army badges from 1920 to unification. Fabulous book, guys. Tons and tons of stuff. You gotta buy the books, gotta have the reference material. Like I said, the last thing you want to do is spend a whole lot of money on a badge just to find out that it's a reproduction. So, speaking of which, like I said, about the brass badges, look for that William Scully on the back, because that's how you know that it's a real one. So I hope you guys liked it, and happy collecting.